On February 22, 2026, 3 days ago, Mexico set itself on fire. Not from a natural disaster, not from a war, from the death of one man. Vehicles torched across 20 states. Roadblocks paralyzing entire cities. A World Cup host city turned into a ghost town. The U.S. Embassy urging Americans to shelter in place. Even Cancun and Puerto Vallarta on lockdown. All because one man died. His name was Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, but the world knew him as El Mencho. And this is his full story. To understand El Mencho, you have to understand where he came from, because nothing about his beginnings suggested he would become the most feared man in Mexico. He was born on July 17, 1966, in Quilititlan, a tiny, impoverished rural community in Aguililla, Michoacán, a place most people have never heard of. A place with dirt roads and no future for a poor kid with no education. He grew avocados. He dropped out of primary school. He was nobody. But Michoacán, specifically its Tierra Caliente region, was already becoming ground zero for Mexican drug trafficking. The cartels weren't just criminal organizations. For desperate young men with no opportunities, they were the only ladder out. El Mencho climbed it. By the early 1990s, he had crossed into the United States illegally, not to escape the drug trade, but to work inside it. He became involved in drug trafficking operations in California. In 1994, he was caught. AU South District Court in Northern California sentenced him to 3 years in federal prison for conspiracy to distribute heroin. Most people, after 3 years in an American federal prison, go home and go straight. El Mencho went home and went to war. Here's the part of the story most people don't know. After his release from U.S. prison, El Mencho returned to Mexico and became a police officer in Jalisco. Let that sink in. A convicted drug trafficker working in law enforcement. But this was Mexico in the late 1990s. The line between the police and the cartels was often non-existent. His time as a cop wasn't a change of heart. It was networking. It was learning how the system worked from the inside. It was contacts. He didn't stay a cop for long. He transitioned back into the criminal world, this time with connections, with knowledge, and with ambition. He started working as a hitman, protecting a powerful trafficker named Armando Valencia Cornelio, known as El Maradona. From there, he moved up, joining a block of the Milenio cartel allied with one of the Sinaloa cartel's most powerful figures, a man named Nacho Coronel. Under Coronel, El Mencho learned the drug trade at the highest level. He managed finances. He ran operations. He killed people. But everything changed in 2010. Nacho Coronel was killed by the Mexican military. The Milenio cartel fractured into rival factions, Los Torcidos and La Resistencia, and a brutal war erupted for control of Jalisco. Out of that chaos, El Mencho emerged on top. Los Torcidos became something new, something that would terrify a continent. They called themselves the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, the CJNG, and El Mencho was its king. El Mencho didn't just build a cartel, he built an army. The CJNG was unlike anything Mexico had seen before. While older cartels like the Sinaloa operated like businesses, quietly corrupting officials, avoiding unnecessary conflict, El Mencho operated like a conqueror. One expert described his strategy as being like Genghis Khan. Wipe out the opposition with such overwhelming violence that every other enemy simply surrenders rather than fight. Leave no doubt. Leave no survivors. Leave no challengers. They posted videos of mass executions. They hung bodies from bridges. They released propaganda films with their soldiers dressed in full military gear, driving armored convoys, looking more like a militia than a criminal organization. And it worked. The CGNG expanded from Jalisco across Mexico at terrifying speed. Jalisco, Colima, Michoacán, Guanajuato, Veracruz, Chiapas. In just a few years, El Mencho's cartel had a presence in over half of Mexico's states, and in more than 40 countries worldwide, with networks in the Americas, Australia, China, and Southeast Asia. By 2019, the DEA estimated CJNG was responsible for at least 1/3 of all the drugs entering the United States by air and sea. Fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin. El Mencho's cartel became the #1 source of fentanyl flooding American streets, the drug that has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Former DEA agent Matthew Donahue said publicly that El Mencho was the #1 priority for DEA and frankly for federal law enforcement in the United States. A $15 million bounty was placed on his head by the U.S. government. He disappeared anyway. Here's what made El Mencho different from every other cartel boss. He was invisible. While El Chapo gave interviews to Sean Penn, while other narcos threw lavish parties and drove Lamborghinis, El Mencho vanished. Only a handful of photographs of him exist. He moved constantly. He used multiple aliases. He trusted almost nobody. The CJNG had its own propaganda machine. They posted videos constantly, but El Mencho himself was never in them. He was a ghost running a machine. And because of this, rumors of his death circulated for years. In 2022, Mexican press reported he had been killed in a confrontation with rivals. Cartel enemies left graffiti across Guadalajara claiming he had died of kidney failure in a hospital. There were reports he had built a private medical facility in rural Jalisco to treat serious kidney disease. His own cartel started fracturing. A splinter group in Colima announced they were leaving, claiming El Mencho was already dead. But the DEA found no evidence. The Mexican government found no evidence. He was out there, hiding, surviving, running a billion-dollar empire from the shadows, until someone gave him up. On February 20th, 2026, Mexican intelligence received a tip from an associate linked to one of El Mencho's romantic partners. El Mencho was in Tapalpa, a small mountain town in Jalisco, his home state, a place he apparently believed was safe. He was wrong. Mexican special forces, backed by the National Guard, military aircraft, and helicopters, quietly sealed off the entire area before dawn on February 22nd. As soldiers advanced, cartel gunmen opened fire. A fierce gun battle erupted. Security forces pushed through, killing several CJNG members. El Mencho and members of his inner circle fled to a nearby wooded cabin complex, and a second firefight broke out. Soldiers eventually cornered them. When the shooting stopped, they found El Mencho wounded, surrounded by 2 bodyguards. He was taken into military custody. Armored vehicles, rocket launchers capable of downing aircraft, heavy weapons, all seized at the scene. As the military helicopter flew El Mencho toward Mexico City, he died from his gunshot wounds. 59 years old, ended not in luxury, not in exile, in a helicopter bleeding over the state he had terrorized for 15 years. The White House confirmed the U.S. had provided intelligence support for the operation. President Trump's press secretary called it a victory in the war on narcoterrorism. Within hours of the news breaking, Mexico exploded. El Mencho's right-hand man, a senior CJNG figure known as El Tuli, immediately organized retaliation. He issued a bounty of 20,000 pesos, about $1,100, for the killing of each member of the Mexican military. Within hours, CJNG operatives launched coordinated attacks across the country. Over 85 roadblocks on the first day alone. Vehicles dragged onto highways and set on fire. Convenience stores torched. Gas stations burned. Armed men blocking streets in Guadalajara, one of the 2026 FIFA World Cup host cities. Puerto Vallarta, a major tourist destination, was paralyzed. Cars on fire on coastal roads. Smoke rising above beachfront hotels. All taxis and ride shares suspended. Flights canceled at both Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta airports. The U.S. Embassy urged all Americans in multiple Mexican states to shelter in place. The State Department Crisis Hotline received hundreds of calls, mostly from stranded tourists. 25 members of Mexico's National Guard were killed in the clashes. 8 CJNG members killed in the operation itself. More than 70 arrests across 7 states. El Tuli, the man who organized the retaliation, was tracked to a town called El Grulo, 180 kilometers from Guadalajara. He attempted to flee. Officers killed him in the confrontation. By Monday, calm was slowly returning. Streets were being cleared, stores beginning to reopen, but the country remained on edge. El Mencho is dead, but experts are warning, this is not over. The CJNG is structured like a franchise. The DEA says it is composed of roughly 90 separate organizations. This isn't a kingdom that collapses when the king dies. It's a corporation with regional managers, supply chains, and hundreds of millions of dollars flowing through it every month. El Mencho's son is serving life in a U.S. prison. His brother was arrested in 2025. His wife, released from prison in February 2025. His stepson, considered the de facto second-in-command, is said to lack influence among other cartel commanders. So there is no clear heir. And that is exactly when things get most dangerous. Without a single, undisputed leader, the internal war for succession begins. And that war will be fought in blood on Mexican streets. There's also the regional ripple effect. Ecuador, Colombia. The CGNG's global drug network runs through Latin America, and rival organizations, including the Sinaloa cartel, are already positioning themselves to seize routes and territory. One Mexican security analyst put it plainly: El Mencho's removal is like saying a company will fail because you remove the CEO. The flow of drugs is going to continue, and there are going to be plenty of pretenders to the throne. El Mencho spent his entire adult life building something he believed was untouchable. A cartel with no equal. An empire invisible to the world. A kingpin with no face. He started with nothing in the dirt of Michoacán. He clawed his way through prison, through the police force, through the brutal hierarchy of the Mexican drug trade, and emerged at the top. For 15 years, 2 governments couldn't find him. In the end, someone close to him gave him up. He died in a helicopter at 59. No crown, no throne, just gunshot wounds and the sound of rotors. History is full of men who thought they built something that would last forever. It never does. This story is still developing. The CGNG is still out there. The war for succession has already begun. If you want to stay updated on what happens next, subscribe. Hit the bell, because we'll be following this story as it unfolds. And drop a comment. Do you think killing El Mencho makes Mexico safer? Or does it just make things worse? I'll see you in the next one.